How much do you actually know about the history of Christianity and the people who played a part in it and the essential doctrines of the faith? I've shared this before on my channel that I was a little bit shocked when I first went to seminary at how much I didn't know. I was someone who grew up in the church, children's ministry, youth group. We were there whenever the doors were open, Sundays, Wednesdays, you name it. Yet when I started seminary in my 30s, I was embarrassed by how little I actually knew. I was ignorant. I was naive about some of these things. And my guess is that many of you might feel the same way. Your faith is a huge part of your life. You love the Bible, but you might not know as much as you should about the history of the church and all of the important factors that played into that. And so I'm really excited to share this with you. This from Holman is the new Church History Handbook. It's in the same series as these books right here, which I've talked about on my channel before, the New Testament Handbook and the Old Testament Handbook. And these are beautifully designed books that will help you better understand the history of our faith. They were designed by the team at Face Out Studio in Oregon, who does a lot of book design, and they are absolutely beautiful on the inside. And Andy, the publisher at Holman Bibles, writes something in the beginning about how it's important for things to be beautiful and engaging to draw us in, but it's literally filled with infographics, charts, maps, timelines, articles, just great content that marches through the history of Christianity so that you can better understand, again, those things that I talked about at the beginning, not just how it all developed in a timeline, but who were the key figures who played a part in that? What were the essential doctrines of the faith that developed during these different periods? And how does that all impact the way we understand and interpret the Bible today, the way we live in faith with those people around us? It's really an interesting thing. And this is just I wouldn't call it simple because it's very deep, it's very complex, but it's also beautifully designed and very manageable to read. So my suggestion for you, if you're like me and you would say, I'm a little bit, I don't know as much as I should know about church history. This is divided into 5 different key eras. And I think you could literally sit down with, they have 2 different options. They have these 2 different colors right here. I think you could sit down with one of these and take 5 days or 5 weeks if you wanted to do a deep dive and study each era. It's only going to take you probably 15 to 25 minutes to read through each era in the book, but you're going to learn a lot about those key people, a lot about those doctrines, a lot about the timeline and how everything unfolded. And if you do that, if you dedicate some time to this, you're going to get to the end and you're basically going to feel like you've taken a seminary class about the history of Christianity. Now, for what it's worth, when I was in seminary, I think I took 3 or 4 church history classes that some of them were developed or focused just on one era in this book. So it was really a deep dive into that. And this is kind of like the Cliff's Notes version of that. And again, it's beautifully, beautifully designed. So I want to walk you through this a little bit. So there you can see, here's the cover of this one. It's kind of this nice medium kind of oatmeal brown. It says Church History Handbook. This is more of a rusty kind of orangish red color on that one. They are beautifully designed. You open this up and it just says Church History Handbook. You've got your copyright page, your content. So I'm going to walk you through. So there's 5 key eras that they go through. So it starts with the early church. That's up through the year 200 AD. Then it goes to the patristic church, which goes through about 500 AD. And then you're going to get the big chunk of the Middle Ages from 500 to 1500. And then, of course, they're going to do a deep dive into the Reformation. So that's 1500 to, in here, they have it about 1700. And then they have what they're calling the modern period. So everything since 1700 all the way up until present day. And in each section of this book, in each of these periods, they're going to talk about those key figures, some of the most important people who played a part in the church during that time. They're going to talk about the essential doctrines that were developed during that time. They're going to give you a timeline. There's maps throughout here. They're going to give you a historical overview. So right here you go. Early church, there's the first day, beautifully designed. Look at that. And then it starts off with a historical overview. So it's just going to tell you what period you're in, and it's going to give you the overview. Flip this into it. It's going to say timeline on the very next page. And then it's going to give you a bunch of the essential doctrines. So you get all of that right at the beginning. And then as you keep flipping, it's going to give you some articles about key things that happened to this. So this is like the spread and persecution of early Christianity. So when Jesus ascends into heaven at the beginning of Acts, he tells his disciples, I want you to be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And that's actually how Luke structures the book of Acts. It starts in Jerusalem, then it moves out into the wider region of Judea, Samaria, and then with the Apostle Paul, the missionary journeys start going everywhere, right? And so it starts to kind of map that out for you in this early first couple hundred years. You even get a map in there. Look at that. This is the kind of thing that you could put on your coffee table and just spend some time every morning flipping through, reading pages, gaining some knowledge about church history. But then you get key figures. So right here, we've got Polycarp and Ignatius of Antioch. So there's just a one-page article right there about Polycarp, a one-page article about Ignatius. So this is going to give you some key biographical information about the people who played a part in this era. This is going to be the kind of stuff that you probably will hear your pastor referencing in a sermon from time to time. You're going to hear these people quoted because the things they said and the things they thought played a big part and really impacted the development of Christianity. Justin Martyr is in here. I just skipped past one. Felicitas, Tertullian, Irenaeus. This is all in the first section. You get to the Apostles' Creed right there. So these are big, important things that you have heard about, but it's giving you some of the historical context behind it. I think, so here's the second era, is the patristic era. Then it goes right into it, giving you the historical overview of everything that's happening. I think about the fact that when many of you know that I did a postgraduate fellowship at Oxford, at Wycliffe Hall, after I finished seminary. And one of the courses that I took was about Christian doctrine. And so we focused on two people in the fall term that I was there. Augustine, however you want to say it, and Martin Luther. Now, these are two names that a lot of people hear quoted in sermons and mentioned on podcasts. People are always talking about things they said, particularly Martin Luther. I feel like we're talking about him a lot. But have you actually thought about him on a deeper level than just kind of the stuff you hear? Have you actually read some of his writings? I was shocked at Oxford to read some of the things that Martin Luther wrote that seemed to maybe say something slightly different than what people often attribute to him. So I actually got to read his writings. I got to spend time with him. This book is going to get you up close and personal in an overview format with a lot of different people, the things that they thought, the way that they impacted the church. It's just absolutely beautiful. Everything about it is designed well, and it kind of marches through, like I said, 5 different eras in church history. When you get to the Middle Ages, it's going to talk about the Catholic Church. And I'm a Protestant, if you've ever wondered, like, how did the Pope become such a big deal? This book talks about it. If you've ever wondered, what are kind of the key differences between Catholics and Protestants? In the Reformation era, it's going to tell you about that and tell you about some of the things that really caused tension in those areas. It's going to give you things all the way up to Billy Graham and C.S. Lewis, modern heroes of the faith, and the way that they've impacted anything. So it literally goes all the way back almost to Jesus and then gets us through today, an overview of church history. Y'all, this book is fantastic. It's so good. I love the way that it's designed. I love the way that it's laid out. I love all of the material inside of it. I've literally spent some time flipping through this book. I've had this actually in my home for probably a couple 3 months now, and I've just been slowly kind of going through it. I've looked at every single page in this book. I've read almost all of it, and I have learned so much. Even though I am someone who went to seminary and has studied these sorts of things, it really did help me. Like right here, get to the Reformation era. There you go. So you're going to do a deep dive into the Reformation on, let's see here. It's probably like 20 or probably more than that. We get to the modern era. So we go from, let's see here. I'm going to do it real quick. I'm going to count it up. We're going to do math. 149 to 109. So 40 pages in this book are going to get you through the Reformation. You're going to have fun. It's beautifully designed. It's easy to read. It's going to give you, there's things about baptism, the different views on baptism, the different views on the Lord's Supper, all of these things that you might go, hey, I've been going to this church that I've been at for a long time or even for a short time. I wonder why they do this that way. This book's probably going to give you some insight about that. And again, I think it's important. I do think it's important for us to understand where we've come from, right? As people of faith, as followers of Christ, we know what we believe. We have this community that we're a part of at our local churches or the people that we're in Bible study and stuff like that with, where we're kind of on the same page with these people. But we're also literally on the same page with these people because this is where we came from. And so it's really interesting. You're probably going to read things in here. You're going to go, oh, well, that person thought this, and I don't know that I actually agree with that. And that's actually something really great to wrestle with and to think through historically how you got to where you are based on the impact that some of these people and some of the decisions that were happening around these doctrinal statements and these key figures were making. It really does help you think through that. So I'm always a big fan of being thoughtful about how we approach what we believe. And what I would say to you is if your faith is a key part of your life, your faith in Jesus, your love for God, your love for the scriptures, right? The Old Testament and the New Testament, then I think church history should also be important to you. And I think it's awesome that Holman has produced the Church History Handbook because it's just a really great resource. So if you have any questions about this, please drop those in the comments and definitely check out the video description because I'm going to put some links to where you can order a copy of one of these for yourself. I'll also put links to the Old Testament and New Testament handbooks, which really do the same thing, but they just do a deep dive on the actual content of the Old and New Testament. So I think if you get one copy of each of these and one copy of this, you'll have some great material that will supplement your Bible study, that will supplement your time in God's Word and really make you a more well-rounded Christian. So when somebody says, hey, are you familiar with what Irenaeus said or what Polycarp said or what Ambrose said? You can go, yeah, I actually have some familiarity with the early church leaders. I have some familiarity with where these doctrines came from and how they developed. That's never a bad thing to have a little bit more history under your belt and to know that. So definitely check out the links in the video description. Again, leave your comments and the questions. Thank you so much for watching this. If you haven't already, click the like button and definitely subscribe to my channel and surf around and find some other great Bible content here on YouTube. My goal is to help you find a Bible that's right for you and apply it to your life. And I think something like this really helps with that apply it to your life goal that I have. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thanks to the folks at Holman and Lifeway for sending me these so that I could share them with you. I'll see you next time.